What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. So today I'm working on my 2000 Honda Civic and I'll be replacing the upper radiator hose. And the reason why I'm replacing it is because it was pressurized. It was getting very swollen from right here. And the main reason usually why that happens is because the radiator cap has gone bad. So I'll show you guys how to replace the upper radiator hose, things to check. We will need some pliers, or if you have no pliers, to get these clamps off, unless you have the tradition or the newer, I guess the modern clamps that use a screwdriver to remove. Then remove those clamps. If you have a pan, try to put a pan underneath because there may be some antifreeze leaking. Of course, you're gonna need a new radiator cap, a new hose, and a spill-proof funnel kit, which I'm going to be using because it's a lot easier so that we can burp the system. Basically, once we finish replacing the parts, I'll show you guys how to use this, how to burp the system, because we do have to turn on the car. We'll do a few things. And of course, last thing you'll need is some antifreeze. I have a ready-to-use antifreeze, so let's get to it. All right, guys, so to start off, let's go ahead and remove the radiator cap. And I did replace this before, so I'm thinking that there's something wrong with the spring, or normally you would see if the rubber seal is dried up or if there's a crack. Now this one doesn't look too bad, honestly. I'm not sure exactly why this may have caused an issue, um, but it also does not tell me much on the radiator cap. This one, the one you want to buy as a replacement, is a 1.1, so it's a 16 psi radiator cap. You want to make sure you get one that's compatible with your vehicle. So I'll actually most likely just throw this. These are not that expensive. I will link everything that I bought in the description so that you can purchase this stuff if you want. Let's go ahead and remove these clamps here. Now, nose pliers are a lot easier. My nose pliers are inside and I don't feel like going to grab them. Use nose pliers or pliers, and this push the clamp away from the plastic piece that's usually sits on. So just like so. And I'll do the same thing here. Now, if your clamps are very rusty, you want to probably look into getting some new clamps. And it's better to do this once versus having to change the radiator hose and then later decide to change the clamp. Why go through burping the system twice when you can just do it once? So, all right. Now, this one, there will be no issue removing the one from the radiator side. I'm going to go ahead and remove this so it's out of my way. All right. So as you can see, the radiator, the antifreeze is coming out right there. What I'm going to do is keep my rag here. My pen does not fit under the car because my car is so low and I don't want to lift it at the moment, but it's also not pouring on the ground. So, or what I'll do is see if I can pour this stuff out. There we go. Now, my hose is actually probably as old as the vehicle, so 25-year-old, give or take. But anyways, um, if it's really hard to remove, use your clamp and press on and basically clamp on the area where it meets with the engine block and twist it. If you can't do it by hand, then that's probably the best way to do it. Now, I still feel radiator fluid in here. All right, so I do need to get these clamps out from my old, and look at this, because it both so bad, it deformed. So I have to get my clamps out before I install the new upper radiator hose. So I decided to go and get my nose pliers. So it just made the process a lot easier with these type of clamps. Again, these type of clamps are a lot better to use. I don't know if I have a big one in this car, but I use these small ones here. Oh, I do, of course. Right here on my air intake. So I got the clamps on here. What we want to do is put the radiator hose back on. I did use the rag and just cleaned around this area and where the radiator is. Swiped it down a little bit. And then we'll put this back on. Doesn't really matter which side you start on. It just whatever is more convenient for you. So make sure you push them in all the way. And if this gets in the way, you can just move it. I'm going to take my nose pliers and I'm going to work this clamp over right close to the tip, not all the way, but about right there. Cool. And then we'll do the same thing. Now I can move this back and out of the way. We'll do the same thing here. Move this right about there. Now, I personally don't like when these stick out here, so I'm going to move it to the side. If you did open this, close it up. We're going to take our funnel kit so that we can burp the vehicle. Now, I got this because it's a lot easier than having to pour radiator antifreeze into the radiator to the tip and then turning on your car and so forth, and it just keeps overflowing. So let's go ahead and install this, and then I'll tell you guys and show you guys how to burp the system. All right, so the kit does come with different adapters, and the adapter that works for this vehicle, the Civic, is the blue one. Of course, depending on the kit you get, it might be different. But how this works is this goes on here, this goes on top, and then we just tighten it down just like a radiator cap. All right. And then we'll take the funnel, we'll put it on top, and in the sits, this orange, I think you pull this off. What we need to do is we're going to turn on our vehicle and make sure that your heat, of course, is set to heat. It doesn't matter what mode you have it on here. We're going to blast the fan because it's best. You don't necessarily need to, you can have it just like that. But make sure that your AC is off and your recirculation mode is off. So I'm going to turn on the car. I'm going to blast the heat. I'm going to get out of the car because it's going to be way too hot. And then we're just going to keep an eye out on the container and see if there's any bubbles coming out of the cooling system. So here we go. All right, blast it. And we'll just keep an eye out on this. So we'll keep it running for about 15 minutes or so. I usually like to keep it on until the radiator fan kicks in once or twice. But if we look at it here, you can see bubbles coming out already. And of course, the car just turned on, so we'll give it a little bit of time. And then we'll look at the bubbles for a little bit. Now, I'm not sure if I was recording earlier, but this thing here, we'll use this at the end so that when we're done, all of this coolant doesn't pour out. Now, as the car warms up, sometimes what I like to do is, you can go in the car and do this. In my car, I just rev it a little bit from here. That helps release bubbles a little bit faster as well. Or keep it around like 15 RPM, 1000 RPM. But for the most part, it is removing the air from the system. Another consideration is it's better to lift the top so the top is higher, and that way it removes the bubbles a lot better. But as you can see, bubbles are being removed. I'm just going to give it some time and then we'll wrap it up with the final steps. Another thing you can do, guys, is your upper radiator hose, if you squeeze it, that'll help also release bubbles, as you can see. Now, do be careful when you do this because it gets very hot. So you want to wear gloves or use a rag to do this. This helps speed up the process a little bit. You can just do it for a little bit, not too much. I also want to know if your radiator fan does not kick in, normally I'd wait for it to kick in once or twice. If it does not kick in, you don't necessarily have to keep waiting for it to kick in. So if it's been about 10-15 minutes, if the temperature has reached normal operating temperature, then you can pretty much call it a day. As long as there's no more bubbles that are coming out of the cooling system, we can pretty much wrap it up. I'm gonna give it about 8 more minutes. So that's gonna total 15 minutes. And if I don't see any more bubbles, the fan doesn't kick in, but I'm at normal operating system temperature, operating temperature, then we can go to the very final steps and we can wrap it up. All right, guys, so we're all set. Now, before I plug this, I'm gonna go ahead and turn off the car. All right, so now that the car is off, what we'll do is plug this. Now, I don't doubt that there will be some coolant that's gonna flow out just because the design of this. So what I'm gonna do is put my rags kind of around here and then twist and remove, and it's not so bad. All right, perfect. Now, personally, I would not use what is left in here. Don't pour it back into your container. Dispose of it properly. And what you can do now, unless it's very dirty, it's not dirty. Mine, I do see some stuff in here, so I'm not going to use it. So in your reservoir, there is a minimum and a maximum line. You just want to make sure you have coolant in between. This is overfilled, which means it's going to pull out a little bit when I put my radiator cap on. So what I'm going to do is just keep some rags around here. Close my radiator cap. This is the new one. Okay. And then we'll check our reservoir. And I'm already in between the minimum and maximum line, so I'm good to go. I don't need to do anything here. If you absolutely want, you can always remove this container. You pull it out, and then you can pour what's in here out, rinse it out, and then you can pour fresh antifreeze between the minimum and the maximum line. It's a little bit hard to see, but you'll be able to notice also there's a maximum line there showing over here on this side. You can always also pull it out if you wanted to see where you're at. And that is it, guys. So I hope this video was helpful, and I'll see you guys on the next one.